everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 1, Episode 5. Very special guest, Mike from K8MRD Radio Stuff. Mike, how are you this evening?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you know, you're one of my ham radio heroes, so to speak. You just I fell in love with your channel as soon as I saw it, and it just I absolutely love your videos. Just absolutely love them. And one of the things that we want to do here, and one of the, I have a drone channel as well, and one of the things we kind of do news and updates and things. But I'm starting this channel off by talking to some of my favorite hams on the YouTube community, who do, I think, an outstanding job. And first of all, you do an outstanding job, Mike. I really like your channel, what you do. So my hat's off to you as far as that's concerned. So my first question I really ask everybody is, how did you get your start in ham radio? How did you get going with it?
Well, I've known about ham radio like my entire life. My dad's a ham. He's W4GRD. He was, oh gosh, what was his old call? KB4JZH, I think, was when I was a little kid. That was his call, growing up in Florida. And so there's always been a tower in the yard. You never had any Yaggies ring. It's always just a VHF, UHF antenna. And like me and my brother knew about it, but we were either, I don't remember if we were just too young to care or if he never really showed us ham radio, probably a little bit of both, probably more so we just didn't care. But so when I was, I was licensed in 2016, and it really came from my love of guns. I've been shooting my entire life, and I was reading. I have an app on my phone called Flipboard, and it just kind of pulls news sources from everywhere. And one of the threads that I have is just kind of gun related. And this was back, I guess, in 2015 or 2016. Probably 2016, there was that Oregon standoff where there were like farmers that were fighting with the government over who owned the land and blah, blah, blah. And this article had mentioned that these guys were using these cheap Baofeng radios for communications. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know about ham radio. And right in this time, some friends that I worked with and I were kind of getting into I'm not a prepper, but the idea of being prepared, and we were kind of getting like go bags together and that kind of stuff. I grew up in Michigan, and it was in 2003. There was a ginormous blackout, like that swept the whole northeast part of the country, from like New York all the way to Michigan. And it lasted for about a week. So we didn't have power for like a week. Fortunately, it was in the middle of the summer, so we just drank beer and swam in the pool all day for a week. But thought of not having, obviously everything was gone. Cell phones, nothing. Yeah. I mean, you're living in the dark ages. So having lived through that and then reading this article, it just really appealed to me, the idea of having emergency communication. So I basically immediately went on Amazon and bought my first Baofeng, which was a UV5R V2 Plus or something. One of the gimmicky. This is the upgraded. They're all the same thing, but so I bought that, and then I bought another Baofeng a month or two later, and but so I bought the Baofeng before I even got licensed. I downloaded a book on my iPad called The Fast Track to Your Technician License. And I can't remember the guy's call sign, but he actually just emailed me saying in his newest version, he's going to include my video that I did on getting started in WSJTX and FT8, which is really cool. And I was like, holy crap, that's amazing, because your book is how I became a ham. So I read the book in about 4 hours, downloaded an app on my phone, just a free app taking practice tests. And I went on the ARRL's website and I found the soonest VE session, which was like 2 weeks away. And I'm like, my God, it was like the longest 2 weeks, other than waiting the other 2 weeks to get my license in the mail or updated on the database, rather. And the rest is history. I got on the air and started talking on the repeaters and met a lot of great people. And then like a year later, I upgraded to general. And then I think a year after that, it might have been 2 years, I forget, I upgraded to extra, and now I'm a VE and all that stuff. So yeah, guns and emergency communications. And now it's completely consumed my life. And I eat, sleep, breathe, work ham radio now. So
Well, yeah, that's kind of like, well, my daytime job is IT, and that kind of consumes me,
yeah.
45 to 50 plus hours. But other than that, yeah, well, I hear you on the guns, and I put shockwaves through my family when they found out I bought an AR-15. Everybody's like, "Oh my God!" Well, my son-in-law, he went to gunsmith school.
Oh, cool.
He was a sniper in the Army. I
Wow.
mean, he's real.
Good for him.
He's a good guy, and he was like, and I found it on I forget that online website. It's like a gun auction site, and I found it
Oh,
there,
sure.
and it was brand new, and it was like list price. And my son-in-law said, "You better run, don't walk. Go ahead and get it." So I did.
What kind is it?
It's who's, oh God,
There's so many.
it's the original. Whoever made the
Armalite.
original.
Armalite is who made the original one.
Yeah,
hence the AR.
It may be. It may be. But
Nice.
he did, and that Christmas he got me a gun cleaning kit, a pad. I mean, and everything. He got me all squared away. He told me what kind of ammo to get. I mean, he's my right hand person as far as that's concerned. Okay, because
Nice.
I'm pretty green on that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
he got me up to speed on that. So
Nice.
yeah, I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of in that area. And my wife's like, let's keep that under the bed in the case, and just kind of like keep it out of the way kind of a thing. Well, she did not. She likes the idea of having that versus having. She's afraid of handguns for some reason. And at this point, I'm not going to push it, but
Yeah.
it's good. We have something in the house, which is primarily of primary importance. So, you have a great YouTube channel. What prompted you to go ahead and say you wanted to get on YouTube to tell everybody about ham radios?
Well, it's so back in around when I first got licensed, there weren't a lot of YouTube channels on ham radio. There was, Josh was doing his videos, but there were really kind of two main guys. One was Jerry, the late Jerry KG6HQD, God rest his soul, inventor of the KG6HQD speaker wire antenna, and Tony, who was K8MRD, who's now N4ARV, I believe this is called. And Jerry was doing a lot of summits on the air. And Tony is in Florida, so he's just going to, and this is before Parks on the Air even existed, so he's just going out to Parks with his 817 or some QRP radio. And Tony just really, he really resonated with me, and just, he had such a positive attitude. So does Jerry. But watching both of them just go out and play portable HF, that's really what kind of got me interested in doing what I'm doing now in portable HF. And I just wanted to document my journey and kind of pay it forward as I felt those guys, and Josh included, and Eric, Ham Radio Concepts. Those were kind of the early guys that I started watching. Kevin W6RIP is another one, and Jason, Ham Radio 2.0. So there were a few, but they all helped and Elmered me. I didn't have someone that held my hand and said, "Here, Mikey, this is a radio. You push the button." I didn't have any of that. I read a book and watched YouTube videos. So YouTube was my Elmer, and I wanted to create a channel just to, one, I just thought it would be fun to create a channel, but two, to kind of pay back what I can to the community that I love so much. So that's kind of just positivity and paying it forward is really the main reason.
That's awesome. I got started with ham radio because, well, I moved to Florida in 2011 for the best reason in the world. I met somebody and got married. So, and
Yeah, that'll do it.
listen to this. I met her. We got married 15 days later. We've been married 12 years.
What?
Yes, I kid you not.
Wow.
I kid you not. Well, let me back that up just a little bit. 3 weeks before that, we spent about 4 or 5 hours a night on the phone. Okay. She's 3 years younger than me. So, you pretty much, when you get to be this age, you kind of know exactly what you want, what you're looking for, all that kind of good thing. She's golden. And
how did you meet?
Online through a dating
Really?
service, Christian Mingle. Yeah, it was. And we just started chatting, and boom, next thing you know, it led to a phone call. And then after that, I came down, and 15 days later we got married, and
Wow.
yeah, boom,
That's
lock,
crazy.
stock, and barrel.
And 20 years later, you said?
We just
12.
hit our 12th anniversary.
Wow,
So,
congratulations. That's incredible.
thank you.
That is incredible.
And part of moving to Florida, I had always heard about ham radio. Okay. Well, my thing was, people said, are you prepared if there's an emergency, especially, with hurricanes, because I never had to face the possibility of having a hurricane before.
Yeah.
So that's what got me and sparked my interest. In 2015, I got ambitious. I went through one of the ones, and I think it may have been through EHAM. They had like a rotating pool of questions for each test, and that's how I studied for it. And within about a period of about 8 months, culminating in 2016, I ended up getting my extra, and I blew through those tests. I mean, I think like on the extra, I may have missed 2 questions. I was just so ambitious about it. And as far as like my channel is concerned, I've seen all you guys out there, and I really like it. And one of the things I really like, and I kind of want to stop right here. And, I found, like, with you, with Jason, and some other people, I've talked to Scott, Ham Radio for Non-Techies. I've talked to T.O., Steve. It's a much better, I think, community that I see than, like, for example, on my other channel with the drone community. It's really kind of cutthroat, kind of, out to get the views, out to get, outdo one another. Nobody's here. Nobody here in ham radio is to do that. Okay. Everybody's here and really are great teachers. Like, you're fantastic, with your builds, like your battery boxes, and when you're doing antennas. I've learned so much just watching, videos when you do that. Or Scott was putting an antenna together in his backyard. He filmed the whole thing, and watching that, it's a learning process. So I kind of want to do the same thing with mine, but I want to make it to where it's fun and easy, because, as you know, Mike, it can get over your head in a hurry. Okay.
Oh God. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I want to try, because I think in order to get more into the hobby, I think we need to keep things at first on a very simple, basic basis, So
that's all I know how to do. So,
which I think really, I think it's great. So, I know you went to HamCation. What were your thoughts of HamCation this year?
Oh, it's fantastic. I had a blast. I think for a lot of us, we go not because we need stuff. It's more a chance to just hang out with everybody. We all of us YouTubers talk all the time. I mean, whether we're texting or we have a private Discord room on Josh's channel where we can, just chat and whatnot. And we do live streams and stuff. And we're always hanging out online, but it's nice to get together. But it's also about the camaraderie and getting to meet everybody, all the viewers and everything. I mean, you can't walk more than 5 feet without somebody stopping you. And that's really what it's all about for us, is just kind of, again, paying it forward, just shaking hands and talking to people and just hanging out. We do get-togethers where everybody can come out, and usually it'll be a bar or a restaurant or something, or at HamCation in the campground section where everybody's got the campers. We have an area set up where we can just kind of go back there and chill out, and everybody's welcome. If you just want to hang out and have a beer, a Coke, or whatever your thing is. And meeting vendors too, and making those contacts, and getting future content. I've got an antenna right now from PAR NFEDs that they gave me that I got to put up. I'm going to replace my NFED half wave with this PAR NFEDs one that handles 1500 watts. So I don't have to worry about, because the one I have now works great. It's from Nelson Antennas, but it doesn't handle the FT8 like he says it should. If I was just on 80 meters last night, and it is stupid resonant on 80 meters. And I was pushing about 50 watts into it. I mean, it's 135 foot wire. It's an 80 meter NFED. And I was making some great contacts last night too. Some good DX. But I was pushing about 50 watts into it, and the SWR the toroid just gets oversaturated. So I gotta replace it.
Wow. Yeah, it shouldn't do that.
But it is a smaller toroid. I mean, it's not a 240 in there. I think it's a 140. So.
Well, yeah.
But he rates it at like 70 watts or something. And I emailed him, like, dude, your antenna does not handle this much power. And he's like, well, yeah, it can for a little bit. I'm like, well, you shouldn't rate it for that if it does. Other than that, it's tremendously built. It's a great antenna. I love it. But
yeah, see,
but he does have a higher power version too.
Yeah, when you do FTA, you have to have, there's one word, power, okay? Yep. And it does take a lot of power. And you got, it's just one of those things. You got to have that. That's one, that's one of those things.
I also have a 10 antennas set up, and that's like, if chances are, if you see me spotted on like Ham Alert or something, and I'm running FT8, I'm usually sitting on my front porch with the 10 antennas, and I can put however much power into it I want. It doesn't matter. I think it's a beast, and it gets out. But again, it's got a bigger toroid. So this PAR NFEDs one is like very good quality. So I'm excited to get that up.
Those are good. Those are good antennas. I mean, that's something I really like. Well, for me, my biggest problem where I live in an HOA, okay, and I lived in we'll call it a ultra strict HOA, okay, where if I have something going, if my garbage can is out there 5 minutes too long, there's or there's an email, hey Bill, get your garbage can in, kind of thing. So what I normally do.
What if you're at the store?
Yeah, I know. It's like, God, it's one of those things. Well, what I use for my antenna, I got to set it up and tear it down. I use an MPass 2.0 when I'm doing stuff. And then when I'm done, I just, it's vertical. I take it all down. I mean, it's great. I get a great SWR and everything, but it's like when it's done, it's kind of like your mom calling you in when it's like 7 o'clock and it's time to get in and all that kind of good stuff. That's
my time is over.
Yeah. So I'm looked at some solutions, like there's some gutter HF antennas, but I'm kind of skeptical on those, and just
Well, so it's funny you mentioned that, because Michael, I just happen to have his QSL card here, W8MJL. He uses his gutter as an antenna, and we finally made contact on what is this, February 6th of this year. So on a rain gutter antenna.
Wow.
I don't know how he built it, but connect the coax to the gutter somehow, and
wow. Well, I was assured, I talked to one of the owners of one of those companies that makes a rain gutter antenna, and he told me, he said, trust me, he said, if it doesn't work, I don't normally do this, I'll give you your money back. So I mean, it's like one of the, he's very confident of it. So I'm probably next payday, I think that's probably going to be on my list of things to get. One of the things that I think is great, and I do this one, I go to drone meetups as well, and it's not about flying drones. It's not about, the vendors are nice and everything, but it's seeing everybody there and connecting with people, and you really kind of hit the nail on the head. That's what's so good about this, and it's even better with ham radio, because that's one thing I've sensed, because I first got on TO and Ape have the Coffee and Ham Radio show, and they invited me on talk about drones and ham radio. What's the uses, and I found a couple of clips. I didn't do this, but some guy bought a mechanism on Amazon, attached it to his drone, got some paracord, flew it up over a tree with a weight, and then boom, went over there, pulled it up, boom, instant antenna. There was another guy who had a really small DJI drone, He attached a wire to it, took it up about a couple hundred feet, and until the battery died on the drone, he was talking on the radio. I was like, this is just too cool.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that I told him too, it's good if you have a tower, for example, to do inspections, so you don't have to go up there and climb, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good thing. I know, HamVention's coming up. Have you been to HamVention before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
What do you think of HamVention?
It's utterly amazing. I got in a little bit late last year, so I didn't even make it through all the buildings. If you've been to HamCation, like HamCation is cool, it's awesome, but it's like one building. Yeah, I mean, there's the second building, but it's really kind of just one building, and then the flea market. Dayton is 5 buildings.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. That's the only word I can use. And obviously it's I mean, they're all so much fun, but Dayton's just, I mean, it is ham radio overload. So, I mean, it's and when you're filming, everything takes twice as long. Cause like, I actually got everything done ahead of time at Orlando. I filmed everything I needed to film and I was done. I did 2 videos Sunday, but like halfway through Saturday, I was really kind of done. And that was really nice because when you're filming, you're not really looking as much. At least I'm not, because you're worried about filming and interviewing and stuff like that. So it was nice to be able to go through and get everything filmed. And then you can walk around without a camera and a microphone and all that crap, and tripod, and just enjoy the show and push buttons and turn knobs and all that kind of stuff. So, but Dayton is hard to do that because there's just so much stuff. And then there's, never mind all the vendors and stuff, there's talks, there's presentations that I've never had a chance to go to any of them, but they have a whole other building where they give presentations and all that stuff with people who are much smarter than me about all, every subject in ham radio you could think of. So, but yeah, it's if you are only going to go to one convention in your life, you need to go to Dayton. It is just,
and that's what everybody tells me. I know where it's at because before the show, I was talking to Mike, and my 2 of my older children went to college near Xenia, and I'm familiar where the Greene County Fairgrounds are, and and I know it's big, and I can't tell you, I am really excited and really looking forward to it, and also going to kill 2 birds with one stone because we're going to get to meet. We had a granddaughter born in December.
Oh, nice! Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's granddaughter number 2. And what was ironic was we had taken a week off from work, and my daughter was due, and she passed her due date up, and it was 3 days after we got back down to Florida. She had granddaughter number 2. So we kind of just missed it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get up there and kind of split our priority. One of the things that we did, which was really smart, we did Verbo. I'd never done them before, and found out they're really good. It was basically an apartment for $89 a night. Missing some amenities, like it didn't have a dining room table. The furniture was a little sparse, but it was a great place to crash. Had a washer and dryer there, which was great because we were staying for a week.
Yeah.
And it was in easy access to where, my daughter and son-in-law live. So that went well. We're probably going to do something similar when we go up in May.
That's nice.
So but we're looking forward to getting up there for that. One of the things that, and it just amazes me that I really like about your channel, you absolutely go head over heels with the 891. Okay. I just seriously, I fell in love with the radio by watching your videos, Mike.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. And I just ordered that adapter kit, the power pole adapter kit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And because the guy, he was out of stock until just like recently. And finally I got an email from him today. He got it in, I paid for it yesterday. He got it out in the mail. So I'm excited to get that. I mean, that radio to me, that was one of the radios that absolutely surprised me. Okay. Cause I'm looking at the form factor, and I'm thinking, what can this radio do? And I'm like, then I watch your channel and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just, wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I have that thing right there. I 3D printed it.
Okay.
I have a different version on my 891 right now, but I figured it because I have a 3D printer, I might as well print it. So I might swap it out with this one. But this is literally been sitting on my desk for like 2 months now. Yeah, it's a great radio. Unfortunately, there's literally nothing else on the market like it. ICOM doesn't make a mobile. I mean, they got the 7100, but that's a big freaking head. I like it. It's a good radio. My buddy Ryan's got it. We use it all the time when we do POTA. But yeah, the 891 that used to my first HF radio was the FT450, and then about a year later, I got the 891. So that was my main shack radio and portable radio, and then I upgraded to the 7300. So the 891 was just straight up. That's my portable radio, and it's great. Now it's in the car, and I have the 7610. So the 7300 is in that backpack behind me. So that's my portable radio now. But yeah, the 891 is just the noise reduction on it's fantastic. I mean, it's getting a little old now, but there's better receivers in radios now, but still for a mobile radio, it's fantastic. I made so many contacts. Well, I made so Fairfield Lake State Park, the state park that's closing. I did a video on it last Monday. I posted it. Was it last Monday? I don't remember. Or Wednesday, maybe. It was Wednesday, I think. And then I made like 131 contacts. I wanted to get on the leaderboard. So I went back on Friday, and the weather was supposed to be nice, but it was actually kind of crappy. It was, I don't know, it was like low 60s and overcast and windy, and just like I did not. And I was in short sleeves and a t-shirt because the weather said it was going to be like in the 70s and sunny. What do they know? So I just sat in my car with the 891 and my ATOS antenna, and I made 354 contacts in about 4 hours. I took a little bit of a break, so it wasn't just balls to the wall 4 hours. And I stopped to talk to some people and that kind of stuff. But it's fantastic having a mobile setup. If you don't have a mobile HF setup, you're missing out, because it's really nice to be able to just pull into a park, push the tune button on the 891, the ATOS goes up or down, or a Tar Heel, whatever antenna. It doesn't matter. It could be a hamstick. Who cares? But just be able to just pull in and like zero effort, zero setup. You just get on the air. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it works.
That's, and that's the thing that really resonated with me is, how easy it is to set it up and get on the air. Because you know what? The last thing I want to do when I'm going out to do POTA, or just maybe just going out to a park just on my own and wanting to get out there in the great outdoors and connect with some people, is taking time to get that thing set up. Okay.
Yeah.
I want zip, 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 done, ready to rock and roll. And one of the things that kind of leads me to one of your more recent videos on the gentleman that you saw at HamCation with the IC705 case. I'm like, wow. I mean, that is just, because I know Jason did a little bit of show and tell last week when I had him on the show, but I was looking at your video with that, and I'm like, double wow.
It's a nice looking box. I don't think it's not for me. I think it's a bit overkill. I mean, I can take, if you saw Josh posted a video, he and I roomed together at HamCation, and I had my 705 in literally a lunch bag, a little Carhartt lunch bag. And other than the mast, that DX Commander mast that's behind me, everything was in there. Coax, antenna, radio, mic, adapters, a battery, everything. So, I over the years, you kind of, we're always honing our go kits, if you will. They're never going to be done. But you start to learn, you get a bit of muscle memory almost of what you feel like taking, what you need, what you don't need. So I try and keep a very minimalist setup as best I can, because there was times where I'm putting everything in the bag. Like,
yeah, you have 5 or 6 end feds in the bag.
Oh, you got 6 of everything, and it's like, what if this and what if that? And now I'm like, you know what? Screw the what ifs. Whoops, that's going off. Other than adapters, gotta have adapters. That's kind of the only what if. If your antenna breaks in the field, which I've had happen, you just twist the wire back together, and when you get home, you solder it or replace the wire or whatever. Haven't had coax go bad. That would suck. Actually, I have had coax go bad. Fortunately, I did have a little bit of RG213 or 316 with me rather, so I was able to get back on the air. But when you practice enough, and you don't have to go to a state park or something, go in your backyard and set up. Yeah, that's the best way to practice. When I was living in Michigan, I don't have hardly any yard here, but when I was living in Michigan, I would barbecue all day, like doing a pork butt or some ribs or something, and I'd just sit at my back table and watch fire, drink beer, and play radio in the backyard. That's the easiest way to practice, to know what you need, what you don't need. If you forget something, all you got to do is go back inside and grab it, versus if you drive, some people are an hour or more from a state park if they want to go do a POTA or something. If you forget something, man, your heart sinks. It's a bad day.
Yeah, yeah.
And it'll happen to everyone.
Oh, I know. Well, that's like the equivalent when if I go out flying a drone, okay, and I'm all set and all ready to go, and then I go to hit the record button and there's no SD card in the drone.
Oh, no.
Same thing. I've had that happen. Drive 45 minutes to get there, and I'm like, one of those things. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And you're right. You talk about you get good at honing down what your go kit, your go bag, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're going out, because it's like at first, well, I'm going to take this end fed, and you know what, I really like how this worked last time, so I'm going to put this in here. And before you know it, it's just like your go bag is just antennas and nothing else. And you want to get to where what's going to work, where you're going, and like you said, muscle memory. It's like I'm going to this kind of park, it's going to have these kind of trees, I think this is going to be good. Oh no, you know what, I think it's going to be better to do an inverted V here. I those kind of things, it automatically kind of kicks in. The only time I kind of will still take a couple of antennas is if I'm going to a park that I haven't been to before.
Exactly.
Because I'm not sure what's going to work. I'll make sure, one of the things I do take with me all the time is my MPass 2.0, because it's so versatile. Because, if I'm faced with something like that at a place I've never been, I can do an inverted V. I can do an NFET. I can do a whole lot with that. So, it's kind of nice. Asked Jason, and I talked to him last week a little bit, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it too. The IC 905, because I know it's on the cusp of coming out. It's just not quite there yet. Did you have a chance to see it? And what were your thoughts on it?
That's not really my jam, honestly. I don't. I know probably like Hayden VK3HH from Ham Radio DX in Australia. He's into all that microwave stuff, so he's probably drooling over that radio. And I think I said something in my video when I toured the Icon booth at HamCation, like, look, Hayden, I'm touching it. But I don't really know anything about those frequencies or what you can do, or what the practicality of it would be. I can't imagine you're doing very long distance. And I would guess the thing's going to be several $1,000s. That's kind of what we're speculating. I mean, nobody has any. I mean, I don't even think Ray knows how much it's going to cost. But I think it's neat. But that's the great thing about ham radio. There are so many facets to ham radio. You could spend your entire life learning about them all, and you wouldn't even scratch the surface.
Exactly. So. T.O. said, I liked his quote when I had him on. He says, it's the hobby of 10,000 hobbies. Something like that. And it's so right. And with the 905, I agree with you. Okay. One of the things that because I was trying to get myself educated on it. Number one, it's going to be, you better have a lot of coins in that piggy bank, because it's really going to set you back just for the radio. And then you think about getting the antenna system with it as well. It's going to be like, holy cow, you're going to really be dropping some good money. But for what? And several, I went out to a couple of groups out on Facebook, and one of the things you say, you got to have a good microwave community around you or in the area that you live in, because if you don't, you're not really gonna get a lot of use out of it. And you have to remember, and this article is really good. It says, you have to remember, ICOM is a Japanese company, and microwave is very big over in Japan. So, this is what these, first and foremost, these radios are geared for Japan. We want to think they're for us here in North America, but first and foremost, they're for Japan. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I agree with you about that. The one thing I'm kind of iffy on, I had a chance right before they announced that they were putting it on hold, discontinuing it, get a 7100, and I passed. And it's just like, I want to kick myself for that now, because it was at a really good price before the prices started going right through the roof. And there's been a lot of talk I've heard that, maybe this summer, we might see that come back again because of all the part shortage and everything. So,
yeah, who knows
with stuff like that. Ham Radio Outlet in San Diego just closed. They were there for 45 years. Wow. Now, I have a good friend. He's a drone person as well, and that's how I found him. But he was the last manager of the store there. And he shared quite a bit. And one of the things, they tried to get a new lease there, and everything is just so god awful expensive in California, and they weren't able to find a good lease there. And it's kind of a shame. It's kind of like, you hear this happening, and you're like, well, my thoughts are first, like with my friend and all his coworkers there, they got to look for new jobs right now.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's absolutely horrible, because I've been there, done that. Don't ever care to do that again. But I think a lot of it has to do with the way the economy is right now. Because this can happen even in a less expensive state. Just most people, I know myself, I have not walked inside a ham radio outlet or another ham radio type of store to buy anything. The only place I'll do that is like at HamCation or now HamVention. But physically going into the store, that doesn't happen. My orders are mouse. Everything's online. So it's kind of sad. That's one of the things that I got out of all this. But it's kind of like,
I've never had a ham radio store near me, so I don't know what it's like to be able to just go there. The closest I had in Michigan was Adams Electronics. Scott AC8IL he Elmered me on my extra, and they're a land mobile business, but he's a ham, and he's got one of the offices in the building is like a beautiful ham shack. So he sold like you could go down there and get coax or adapters and that kind of stuff, and just shoot the breeze. And he's got a technician there, Glenn, who's actually my what the hell is it? Zygu X5105. The sideband doesn't put out power, so I sent it to him, and he's hopefully going to fix it. So he's really good at he fixes radios all day long. That's what he does. So
that's awesome.
Adams Electronics in Michigan. If you need in where are they? Not Howell, Wixom. Adams Electronics in Wixom, Michigan. If you need a radio repaired, send it to Glenn.
That's fantastic that there are places like that still around. I mean, I think that's amazing. The only other person that I've seen on YouTube that does a lot of do it yourself is T.O. And that's the thing I absolutely love about his channel. And I know you do a lot of that yourself, Mike. With your battery boxes. What prompted you to get started to do the battery boxes? Because I think they're absolutely fantastic.
So Julian, OH8STN, Survival Tech Nord. Again, this is kind of bad. He's kind of one of the original YouTubers as well that I started watching. But and again, just right along, all this was kind of happening when I was getting into portable. So he was making these batteries. Do I have it here? He was using these Headway 38120 lithium iron phosphate batteries. So he built this pack. So I built one. This is a 10 amp hour pack, and I used this for portable. And then I built Little Geek. Let me grab. Hang on. Give you the whole tour here. So I wanted I wanted something to put this in, and I couldn't really find something. I found like a little plastic box that I cut out and had the wires sticking out, but that wasn't very practical. So I wanted something a bit more useful. So I built Little Geek, and this is like the second or third iteration of it, but same layout and everything. But I had a different meter, different USB thing. But I wanted a battery box, and I wanted a solar charge controller in here because I wanted to be able to hook up a solar panel. There's really nothing on the market like it, so I just built them for me. And then I got a 20 amp hour Bioenno, so naturally I needed a bigger battery box. And I built the Big Geek when I moved, shortly after I moved to Texas. This is the original one there. The ones that I sell are a bit nicer than this. I'm using same switches, but I'm using different power pole outlets. They're round. You can actually see that box right there. I'm calling Mega Geek. I'm not selling those. I made that for Jason because he had this big 50 amp hour battery that he wanted. So you can see the round power poles there. Those are what I'm using. And it's not just a battery box. You can get a battery box for $80, throw your battery in there and connect it up, and you have just very basic stuff. I want to know, because I build batteries, I want to know what's going on with the battery. I want to know the state of charge. I want to know my current output. I want to know how many amp hours I've used. So the meter that I'm using has a shunt, and it does a really good job of tracking all that stuff. I've got a built-in solar charge controller from Bioenno in there. So if I'm out for field days, generally I don't need solar when I'm going out. But for like field days or support your parks weekends where we're going to be out for an extended period of time, it's a good idea to have solar in there, and just nothing exists. So I'm like, again, just made it out of necessity. And then I was talking to Callum a couple years ago from DX Commander. Maybe it was probably a year and a half ago, sometime in December, maybe a year and 2 months, whatever. Because I had lost my job and we're talking about things I can do. And he's like, we should sell those battery boxes. I'm like, that's a good idea. So I started building those and selling them. I don't have any right now, but I need to make another batch, but I've sold 15 already. So that's pretty good.
Wow.
I make them in batches of 5, and they've always sold out at the first batch, I think sold out in like a day. And the third batch I made, I didn't even like announce that they were available. I went on TO's stream and we just talked about the build process and all that. And they sold out in, I don't know, 2-3 days. So
wow. Now
there's a market for them.
How long does it take you to build them?
A long time.
I was going to say
it's to build 5 of them. And I have very, very detailed notes. I finally saved them in my phone on my notes app, but I had them all written down when I was building the first batches. I'm taking measurements of every wire and what parts I need and all that. So I can, like, every step I do 5 of, and then I kind of assembly line it, but it takes me to build 5 of them about 2.5 days of just grinding. I'll wake up in the morning and standing at this workbench all day. Fortunately, Josh's podcasts are really long, so that keeps me going. I usually listen to his podcast when I'm building them, and but it's fun. It's neat. It's I think it's a great product because I've been using it, and it's my invention. But everyone that's bought one, I've just gotten great feedback from. So
we'll see the solar option on there. Having that is golden. And I know, and I watched Julian too, OH8, who's real into, he's very fine tuned with that kind of stuff. And, he's very much into the solar option. And, you think about it, and, it really, well, for me, it kind of hit home personally because we had, I forget what it was, which hurricane, the names of them, but we had one hit last, I think it was September. Had to have my mother-in-law over because she lives basically in a double wide, and you don't when a hurricane coming, that isn't
the first to go.
And one of the things that we have in our new house that we didn't have before, we had what they called them. They weren't really hurricane shutters. They were more like tarps over the window, and it was horrible because we had one of the hurricanes and wind got underneath there, and it was like one of those creepy movies you would see on Saturday night at midnight.
Yeah.
With it was just howling and wind. Well, we have corrugated metal that goes over the windows. Okay, and it's literally I can't get up there and get them done fast enough, so somebody comes by for like $300, it'll set them up and take them down. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your house ends up looking like you're in a voyage to the bottom of the sea in a submarine because you can't see a darn thing. Well, of course, wouldn't you know it, the power goes out. All right.
Yeah.
And it never fails. And this is the first, what I'll call real hurricane, because it actually ended up hitting, we live in Tampa, and it ended up going and hitting in the Fort Myers area, which is about 2 hours south of us. But still, we had enough of effect that it really, the whole next day. Well, we didn't have power for about a day and a half, 2 days. And, one of the things that we ended up, in fact, it's going to get installed here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to get a Generac generator powered by natural gas. Because my wife's like, you know what? Time out. We're not doing this again. We're not going through that again.
Well, the thing with Florida is the hurricanes come through, because I'm originally from Florida. I was in Hurricane Andrew back in the day, and I've been through several hurricanes. But once the hurricane's done, the sun comes back out.
Yeah.
So you can have your solar stuff.
Exactly.
And that's another reason, because my power actually goes out quite a bit. So I put LEDs on Big Geek. I broke one, but yeah, I mean, I can hook an inverter up to this and run my lamps, or I can even power my TV. One thing to keep in mind: when the power goes out, that doesn't mean the internet is out. That just means your router is not on.
Right.
A lot of routers run off of 12 volts. And even if they don't, you can still plug in your router with an inverter off of a 12-volt battery. They don't draw much power at all.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you can get internet. So that's something to think about.
Yeah, that's that. I have heard that, because it's like the only power that you need with that for that coming into the house is the router. Other than that, you're good to go as far as that's concerned. So yeah, that's kind of, I'm kind of glad that we're going to do that. And we're also looking at getting a thing called accordion shutters that you can just stay up there permanently year round, and you close them. And well, the other thing that I told, thinking about, I don't want to say the tech prepper in me, but that thinking from that kind of a standpoint, there's no real, the only methods of egress from the house were really the front door and the garage door. Okay. Because everything else, all the windows have all these corrugated metal on there. And I told my wife, you think about in terms of egress, if something happened to the garage door and you couldn't get out, if something was blocking the front door, So I told her, when we're getting these accordion shutters, I want to get stuff that you can open from the inside to be able to get out of the house in case you had to. I mean, just, think of those kind of things. So, I mean, just that kind of stuff. But I really like your boxes. And, when the only thing that's prevented me from getting one has been this and prioritizing.
They're not cheap.
No, they're not. But they're worth it. Okay, they're worth every penny. And I think when you have something that's the build quality, like that is so good that that's something you probably want to definitely invest in. One of the things, and we kind of touched on this a little bit as well too, that YouTube is really the modern day Elmer. Okay, because I have learned so much. Like I had on Michael Martin's. Okay. And because I told him again, I learned so much from his channel and what he does and everything, and that's one of the things that I think we as content creators on YouTube and the ham radio community, I think, and everybody I've watched really does a good job of this, helps to promote the hobby, the channel and everything. But, one of the things, well, let me back up here a little bit. I've joined 2 clubs here locally. Okay. One of the ones I joined that's right by me. I'm going to be 65 this year. but I would be one of the very young people there in that, at that club. Okay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that seems to be the route of clubs. Now, there's another one that I joined where I would probably fit, that I do fit in better. I'm going to start going to a few meetings now and then. They're on Tuesday nights, and Tuesday nights is bad for me because I have my other show on Tuesday nights, so I really can't go. But, I still think that there's a time and a place for that, and some, getting to make some contacts with people, especially if you're new. I think it's important to get hooked up and to get into a network of people because, even online, I think it's good too to do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's unfortunate that how can I say this politely? The demographic is what it is in terms of age. I mean, even if I look at my YouTube stats in terms of age and viewership, the biggest age group is like 65 and over. And I think that's pretty much across all of our channels. It's just
that's same for me as well too.
But don't let that deter you. There's with age comes wisdom. So and in my case probably stubbornness, but I was just at the gas station yesterday and I saw another ham there because there were 3 antennas on the car. So when I got done, I drove around. I was like, "Hey, those are some sexy looking antennas you got on your car, old man." And he turned around. He's like, "What do you got over there?" I didn't even know the guy, but it's like there's that brotherhood. And he was an older guy. Turns out he's actually in the ham radio club that I'm in, and he knew who I was. But I gave a presentation there on Parks on the Air, but I had no idea who he was. And we just sat there shooting the breeze for like 15 minutes at the gas station. His wife was sitting in the truck. She must have been pissed. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, like, don't let the age thing deter you. There's a lot of these guys really, I mean, if you ask a question, boy, they want to help you. They have so much knowledge. Even, if you're new or young or whatever your age or license class or anything, it's all irrelevant. Get in a club. If you don't like the club that's there, go to another one. I'm technically a member of 2 clubs around here. I don't get to go to too many meetings. I really would like to because I really do enjoy going to meetings and just meeting people and you're just meeting like-minded individuals. You all have something in common, and you always learn something. That's the greatest thing about it. So, I wish I could have taken my Michigan club down with me. They were great. They're very active and portable. The monthly meetings are always great. There's a lot of activity on the repeaters. I'm not much of a repeater guy myself, but it's just I miss those guys.
Yeah, I know.
But I haven't really forged any relationships with any of the guys here. They are all just from like a hanging out standpoint, they're not, there's not a lot of guys in my club that I would be like, "Hey man, let's go do a poda or something. Let's go grab a beer. Let's go grab lunch, whatever." Cause they're all, 25 years my senior. So, there's that, but my club is full of a lot of old people.
Well, that, and that's fine. And you brought up a good point, just because they're older doesn't mean that they don't have that wisdom. And, that's one of the things that I think we can glean off of some of them, and some of them are out on YouTube as well, which I think is great. But one of the things that I was stressing, and I talked about this in one of my earlier videos, a lot of these clubs have, and I'll put it gently, just like some very antiquated, and I talked about this with Scott on my first show, antiquated websites.
Oh, I'm sure Scott has some things to say.
Oh yeah, he did, about some of these antiquated websites. Yeah, he really, he talked for 10 minutes on that, just, no holds barred on that. But
I mentioned that on Jason's live stream earlier today, like, of all of the people in IT in ham radio, the ham radio websites have got to be the worst websites on the face of the earth.
Oh gosh.
In particular, the ARRL.
Oh,
garbage.
You brought, what a great thing to bring up, Mike, because today I got a survey from ARRL. Okay. And what can we do to improve? I said, I said, gut your website.
Yeah.
I told him, I said,
I mean, honestly, in terms of organizations of smart people, you got NASA. The ARL's got to be like right underneath them. I mean, there's so many incredibly talented, smart people there. And then there's Logbook of the World.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, here's the example. Okay. And I didn't, you know, this told me that website just needs some serious help. Okay. I got online, and with my drones, I have what's called a personal articles policy from State Farm. Okay. They're one of the only ones across the United States that will do that. Well, I also found out that I also got all my, personal computers and monitors and everything, and doing the same thing. Well, I was inquiring about ham radio equipment, and I put this out there on one of the Facebook groups. So, don't you know ARRL has insurance? I'm like, what? Says, yeah, you can get insurance for your equipment. I'm like, really? And he gave me a link, and it was like, you know what? If he hadn't told me about that and sent me a link, I'd have never found it on the website. It was just.
Oh, I've been inundated with emails about that stuff. I've known about that.
Just being able to find things on there. It's like, like you said, there are some extremely intelligent, gifted people, that are a part of the organization. But, why don't they get somebody maybe like Scott to gut that website and make it so it's usable and readable and easy to find.
People don't want to move to Connecticut. They asked me at Huntsville about being their media. So they basically offered me a job, and I'm like, I ain't moving to Connecticut, boys. Sorry, that's not happening.
No.
And I was very humble because I'm like, wow, I'm surprised they even know who I am. But I just moved away from the hell of cold. I don't want anything to do with it. Nothing, especially Connecticut. That's even worse than Michigan.
Oh my God. Well, and I got to say this, I got married, but I had a transition time. I got married in February of 2011, but I didn't move down to middle of March because I had to get things ready to go to come down here. Well, my daughter and I went out to Starbucks. This was about a week before my wife flew up, and we both drove down to Florida, and we had an ice storm in Columbus, and it was really bad. It was like the kind that takes you 45 minutes to get into your car bad. Right?
Yeah.
And we ended up going to Starbucks, but it was so funny. It was like almost like a Three Stooges episode. Both my daughter and I got out of the car. Both of us instantly fall down on our rear ends, and I'm just sitting, I'm laughing.
Get the worst coffee in the world.
Yeah. It's my daughter's thing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just laughing so hard.
That's amazing because it's so comical that people do that. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I can't relate. But the Starbucks across the street from me, no matter what time of day, there's always a line.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like when it snows. I hate the snow. I hate ice. I hate the winter. I don't like anything about it. And it's like that. I'm like, I ain't going anywhere. I'm just gonna sit here. I'll throw some salt on my driveway and go back inside and be a hermit.
I'm the same way, Mike. It's just like, after that ice storm, I told Valerie, I said, I'm done. I am done with that. Just don't want to see it again. I mean, that's just where I'm at. So, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight, Mike.
My privilege.
It was great. You do great things, and just keep them going in the right direction. And I will say this, I'm looking forward to meeting you at Dayton along with everybody else. Oh, and I got to say this before we close up shop. You were talking about how you ran into that guy at the gas station. I was wearing my Ham Radio 2.0 shirt. Okay. Walking through the parking lot of the grocery store. Had some guy look at me, pointing at me, hey, 7.3s. And I'm just like, what? It's just like, it's just like, boom. I'm like, my wife said, did you hear what he said? And I said, yeah, I heard what he said.
It's great spotting hams in the wild.
It really is. It's
instant friend. It's just like you're in this little fraternity, and like it's cool, man. I'm so happy to be a ham radio operator.
It really is. And we got a great bunch of people. I got great viewers, I'd like to think. And I think I've learned a thing or two from my time on my drone channel. So that's why things have started off pretty good for me in terms of getting some subscribers. I just got to get some hours up now, but you know, and just what you do, what Josh does, what Jason does, what Steve does, what Scott does, you know, it's just, you know, people are getting a good message out there. And that's one thing I just love being around all you guys. So again,
the greatest thing about all that is that like we're legit all friends, and we there's no competition, there's no bad anything. It's just we're all friends, we're all here, like legit friends. Like I have the Smoking Apes phone number in my phone. Okay, I know his real name and his call sign. But like we're all supportive of one another, and that's the vibes that we want to give. That's the amateur radio that we want to pay forward to the community. It's not the forums and QRZ. It's not the guys that are poo-pooing on whatever mode you prefer to use. We don't care.
Yeah,
we just want to play radio. If you're playing radio, if your radio is on and you're in front of it, that's all that matters.
You know, and it's the same. We say the same thing, like in the drone community. It's a great day. Get out and fly. You know, just, you know, it's the same thing here. You know, pick that mic up, key it, and hit the world, because that's what you have at your fingertips. And you know, that's the one thing that I found again is the camaraderie in the community. I think is just off the charts. So again, Mike, thanks so much. Hang on for a sec after we close out here. Want to thank everybody. Probably going to have on another guest next week. I think he's in the chat right now. N8VOX Anthony has had a great station. I've been chatting with him. So looks like we're going to try to get him on. So everybody, thanks a lot. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you.